Hello and welcome to Films and That. My name's Rob Turnbull.
And my name's Sam Hall.
And today we're looking at Volver. And Sam, this was your pick, so why did you pick Volver?
I just wanted to do a Pedro Almodóvar film for quite a while, and I felt like a lot of his films are quite controversial and contentious, but this film is actually pretty accessible, I think, and a lot of people can enjoy it, so that's why I picked it.
Awesome, let's get started.
Raimunda and her family tried to make the best out of a bad situation. Can a ghost from the past help bring them reconciliation? It does sound like a haiku or something, doesn't it? Weird.
This review contains spoilers. From reading the synopsis online and then watching the film, I felt the synopsis really didn't get to the heart of what the film was, because it's about so much more than this ghost coming back to kind of help the family. There's so much going on in this film.
Well, you have to remember with Almodóvar, he's one of these people that's considered an auteur, and whether or not you like that term or not, pretty much all auteurs deal more around like things that are thematic, I think, rather than necessarily a standard plot. At the centre of this film, as you could say, this film is about death and family and women, would be like the main kind of three things that bring it together. I
think watching it felt like an episode of a TV series.
Yeah.
Or maybe a couple of episodes, because when the film was finished, I was kind of wanted to tune in and see what they got up to next. You know, it didn't feel like there was a close-off resolution, and it didn't feel like there was just one thing that was discussed throughout this film that was discussed in detail. It felt like, oh, and then this bit happens, and then we move over to this bit, and then this bit happens. But like you say, at its heart, it's about these women and how they get on without men, basically, in their lives, or how men have treated them.
It's not about a film that hates men. Some people, I think, would be forgiven for thinking that. I promise you, Pedro Almodóvar is a man, and he doesn't hate men. He just likes to make films about and for women quite a lot, basically. And he just wants to make it a film that is centrally about women, and that's what this is.
Tu madre no me quería. Es muy doloroso que una hija no quiera a su madre.
So the plot centralises around two sisters and one of the sisters' daughters. They're all kind of living quite difficult lives, living life on the edge. They have a sort of an unexpected family tragedy. They talk about losing their mother in quite an unpleasant way. The thing that kind of drives the main story is that the mother of these two sisters comes back from the dead.
¿Con quién va a estar mejor que con su madre? A no ser que te hayas hecho un querindongo.
No, mamá. Estoy sola, como siempre.
Ya no.
If you think it's going to be like, I don't know, Coco or Beetlejuice or whatever, like, it's not that. They try to see how long they can get you to go along with the possibility that you might be seeing a ghost this whole time. They're trying to kind of find reconciliation about the past, and also a way to move forward given that they've lost people in their life. They're constantly talking about how, well, it's just us now and we'll make do. That's kind of the thing, you know, we're women, we're on our own, we'll get through it.
Fairly early on, the husband of one of the sisters tries to rape the daughter, and then the daughter kills him.
That sort of all happens off screen, but
yeah, you expect that to be like one of the main plot points of the film, and how are they going to cover up this murder? But they just kind of lock him in a fridge, and it never comes up again, really.
They bury the body later on, don't they?
It's not a major part of the film. I was sympathetic towards the main character, Penelope Cruz, at the beginning, and then I kind of got less and less sympathetic towards her. Like when she was dragging the body out into the street, and it's like clearly a body that they're dragging around. And I was just like, people are going to see that.
Yeah, but
they don't, and then it's fine.
Yeah, but like you have to remember, you're introduced to the father character early on. It's made immediately clear that he's a nonce. She's outside the law, isn't she? Like she's not going to report it to the police. Is basically what's happening. So she's doing it for the protection of her family, for what she thinks is best, rather than what might be the best situation in the long run. Because there's always the possibility that it's going to get found out. So she does say, remember, I killed him. You know, like she's happy to pin it all on herself.
Paula.
Recuerda que fui yo quien lo mató. Y que tú no lo viste porque estabas en la calle. importante que recuerdes eso.
Which is a bit exploitative sometimes. Like there's a bit when she keeps asking her friends for favours. And
Yeah, that's true.
There's one bit when she asks her friend to help her dispose of her body, but she doesn't tell her until they're on the way to disposing the body. And it's just a bit mean to put her in that situation, I think.
Yeah. She's constantly having to move with the situation, and she doesn't seem to have a lot of qualms about the fact that not everything she's doing is necessarily legal or vested in everybody's best interests. She's not always thinking about everyone in the situation. She's only really thinking about the people that she loves. I think it's also important to remember that it is implied later on that she had to grow up fast. And I also think that that's implied it's like passing on from mother to daughter, because that's exactly what happens to her daughter Paola. She's forced to grow up fast because she ends up in a situation where her own father comes onto her and she has to kill him in self-defense. So that obviously that situation is going to make someone grow up really fast, because just before that moment her daughter's quite bratty. She's like constantly on her phone.
Mamá, se me ha acabado el saldo. Mejor, así descansamos un poquito del teléfono.
The same thing kind of happened to her mother, and she had to grow up fast. So I think that is an important thing to remember of why she is this character who's so committed to being quite bossy and in charge of situations, and using her intuition even if it's not necessarily the right thing to do, just doing it for what she thinks is the best thing to do, I guess.
¿Qué hay?
Perdona que te moleste a estas horas, pero es que me voy mañana para Barcelona y quería dejarte la llave del restaurante por si alguien pregunta y quiere verlo.
A friend of hers, I think he's selling the business, but he's going out of town. He's just like, if anyone comes around to ask about the property, can you just let them in?
Yeah.
And she takes upon herself to start running the restaurant, and because she needs money at this point.
Yeah, because she's lost the man of the house who made the money, so she's just desperate to find a way to make money. And luck, as it happens, there's a film crew in town who need somewhere to eat and provide all the catering, because they never provide their own catering. They just turn up, don't they? So then she's just like, yeah, I will feed you all as long as you pay me some money. And so, it all works out.
How's he come up with these things? A film crew?
Yeah.
Where did he get that idea
I
from?
think because he's been a filmmaker most of his life. So maybe it's that kind of thing of like, well, that's his mindset. He's always around film crews. To him, maybe it's not such a unusual thing for a film crew to just turn up and like, oh, we need some catering, can you help out? Yeah, absolutely, this is not my restaurant at all, but I'll do it.
I was being sarcastic when I said that.
Oh right, okay. Fair enough.
Whenever you see a script that's about a script writer, you kind of think you're running out of ideas there, aren't you?
Yeah. The only thing that's worse is the student film about being students or whatever.
Yeah.
Like write what you know.
It's taking that too literally.
Yeah.
It's not just about that family either. There's other women that have to kind of get by as well, that become embroiled in this running this restaurant. So her friends, I think one of her friends a prostitute or something.
That might be the case. That is very Pedro Almodóvar thing to happen.
Yeah. And so she ends up being the person that makes the drinks for these people. So it becomes about this kind of female community. Let's go back to the mum coming back, because that's the kind of interesting bit for me, because she comes back in a nonchalant way where she just appears to one of her daughters and just like says, can I have a hug?
I really like that scene. Yeah, her daughter's gone. So they have an aunt who you're introduced to at the beginning who has like joke shop glasses. Like with the big eyes, and it's clear that she's very, very not well. She's got pretty bad dementia, and then she dies pretty much at the same time that the daughter kills the father. So then there's like all these inciting incidents happening at once. Yeah, one daughter lone goes back to her house, and funnily enough, she talks about how she's frightened of death. So to see her mother, who she's convinced is dead, walk down the stairs and appear in front of her and say, "I need to talk to you, Sole."
Soledad, hija mía. Sole, tengo que hablar contigo.
Freaks her out like nothing, and she runs out of the house terrified. But then it becomes like almost very humorous, isn't it? Because then she drives all the way back home, gets out of her car, and then hears a knock in her car, and it says, "Soleil, it's me, your mother. I'm in the boot."
Then she's like, "Oh, let me out." And she's like, "Oh, but you're a ghost." It's like, yeah, but can you let me out anyway?
Yeah. And then it's like, "Can you help me with these things?"
De ser será su fantasma o su espíritu.
Ay, lo que tú quieras, pero sácame de aquí. Estoy en el maletero de tu coche.
Ya. Desde luego, mamá. ¿Qué cosas se te ocurren?
Pedro Almodóvar doesn't make like fantasy films. Basically, he makes realist films. So it's a big stretch to come into it and think that she's genuinely a ghost. It is revealed, in fact, that she kind of faked her own death, basically. So I don't think she's a ghost, no. She's really like trying to sell the idea that she might be a ghost throughout the film instead of just going, yeah, obviously I'm not a ghost, they don't bloody exist.
Yeah. Yeah, so she comes back to kind of not only help her daughters, but also make peace with her daughters, because she's kind of abandoned them at that point. Being alive and just pretending she's dead is quite a horrific thing to do to them. So she's kind of come back to ask for forgiveness.
Pero si me hubiera muerto, habría vuelto para pedirte perdón por no haberme dado cuenta de lo que te pasó. Estaba ciega.
I like they've got the sort of opposite personalities, the two sisters. Penelope Cruz is really kind of bossy and she's got her ideas in check and she knows what she wants. And the other one is kind of a bit more sweet, a little bit more naive. She says something like they're driving and they talk about going to the river, and Penelope Cruz says, "The river's dried up." And the other one says, "What, really? I didn't know that." And she goes, "Yeah, there's a drought across Spain, didn't you know?" It's like she kind of keeps on saying these ditzy things, you know.
Yeah. She ends up helping her daughter run her... Didn't she say, like, do you still have that illegal hair salon?
Yeah.
It's like, what's an illegal hair salon?
Do you have to have it because she hasn't got a license, I guess? I don't know.
Do you need a license? I don't know, it's just cutting hair.
You need to train, I guess, don't you, in case you end up like stabbing someone with the scissors, I suppose.
No, I wanted cuts. Cut, blood, spurt, artery, murder.
Maybe it's more about you need a license to run a business. I don't know, but she ends up pretending she's this Russian woman.
She says, "Oh, let's pretend that you're a foreigner or whatever, so that nobody questions who you are. They just think I've taken you in." And she says, "What should I be? I know, I could be Chinese. There's loads of Chinese people around here." And she's like, "What?" And that would have been a very different film if she'd have pretended to be Chinese. Yeah. But then Sole says, "Who would believe you're Chinese? You look like a Spanish person."
¿China? Madrid está llena de chinos.
¿Pero quién se va a creer que eres china, mamá? Algo raro que no haya por el barrio. Rusa.
This is what I mean about it being a TV show. It's just, there's no real plot, is there? There's just lots of little bits that happen, and it's more about the characters. It's more about their relationships.
Yeah, it's a character-central film.
Like Raimunda has a romance subplot with this guy that's part of the film crew, and that just never goes anywhere. But I think that's more like to create a sense of hope that her life is going to be okay, you know? Not going to settle down with a dickhead, basically.
Yeah, a pedo, basically. That's what she ended up with.
And did you think there was much of a resolution in terms of Soleil kind of accepts her mother being there quite easily, but I think Raimunda is a bit more hesitant to do that, and she initially runs out kind of crying about everything that's happened, understandably.
He vuelto para pedirte perdón. Yo no sabía nada, hija mía.
So it is revealed that there was some difficulty and strain, and there was a split kind of that between them, a period where they didn't really talk. The mother, Irina is her name, she wants to kind of say, look, I understand the reason why we weren't getting on, and I want you to forgive me because I didn't know that was happening to you. The reconciliation, the kind of the forgiveness, that's another thing, you know, like, please, can we just move on?
Te juro que he vivido en un auténtico purgatorio.
So what were your final thoughts on Volver, Sam?
I really love it. I do really like this film. There are a couple of moments that really annoy me, but like there's some really great emotional moments in this film, like when Raimunda finds out that her mother is alive and she knows she's in the next room and she goes to go and see her. That moment I thought was very, very powerful and emotional, and that in of itself for me makes the whole thing worth it. And there's a lot of like mother and daughter, sister and sister, a lot of, you know, moments about that make you think of family life, I guess, and how wonderful it can be just to be people and to be together, you know.
Is that the scene when she can smell her farts or something?
That's earlier on in the film, but it happens in the same room. But yeah, that's another good moment though. Yeah, when they're all laughing together, remembering that she says her mum used to go around the house farting, and that was how you knew she was in the room or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're all laughing about it.
Si es que música acabara de estar mamá peyéndose a culo lleno, no lo leí vosotras. Juro que me parece estar oyendo la reír.
¿Qué cosas dices?
So that's when she becomes suspicious that her mum's there because she can smell her farts.
Yeah, isn't there that thing about, you know, you can sense, like smell is the stronger sense for memory or whatever, connected to memory. Very early on in the film, the character Sole, she's going up to things and smelling them, like as if to say that her mother is more recognisable her smell than anything, you know, which is interesting.
Well, there's lots of heartfelt moments in the film like that, aren't there? There's lots of pathos,
Yeah.
to use a wanky word. There's lots to like about it, which I can't really put my finger on why this film is good, but it is good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like there's no like standout scene which you go, oh, that's an amazing scene, but it was just really enjoyable from beginning to end. There's lots to keep your attention, keep you engaged, but there's also a lot of heart and hopefulness at the end, you know? Everyone feels like their lives are going to be okay.
Yeah. But you found the Raimunda character a bit difficult to like at times.
At times, like I never felt her to be totally a lost cause or anything. It's really nice at the end when she makes up with her mum, and you do get a sense of closure there. I still do like her as a character. I think she's a good character. I'm just saying that she's not always sympathetic.
Just don't like a strong, independent woman, Rob. That's what it is.
That's right. You got me. Sorry.
Honestly, genuinely think top marks for Penelope Cruz, though, for that character. I think she nails it. She felt quite natural to me. I felt like everyone else around her was probably like almost in awe in her, or just felt like, you know, they weren't quite up to the mark compared to her.
I did feel the sister character was a bad actress.
Yeah.
Did you feel that?
I think she was a bad actress, but compared to Penelope Cruz, she really felt overshadowed, I thought.
Usually when they're speaking and they're not speaking English, usually you don't get a sense if there's a bad actor or a good actor, because you don't usually know the nuances of the language. But with that character, there's a lot of like, I'm reacting to this now.
Almodóvar used to work with people who, like, he had like his sort of clique of actors that he used to work with a lot. People who weren't always that famous that he just sort of brought in. Later on, he got in some sort of bigger stars, I guess, and Cruz, I think, was pretty big at that point. And he worked with Antonio Banderas as well. That could be it. It could just be that, you know, he's just used to the actors that he normally has, and then he's brought on someone who's a bit more, maybe from a stronger acting background, teaching background or something. It's noticeable that, yeah, some of the other actors aren't quite as up to standard as Penelope Cruz is.
Yeah, I did really like the mother though. I thought she was a good actress.
Oh yes, she was. She's a long time working with Almodóvar, actually. Yeah.
Whenever she was on screen, it drew me into the film. She has this kind of presence about her.
Hay algo que quieres que yo haga, ¿no?
Cortarme el pelo.
Maybe because of the ghost element, there's also this otherworldliness to her.
Yeah. She doesn't like go through walls or anything, you know. She even sleeps.
As ghosts famously do, sleep.
They sleep, yeah.
Okay, that's it for this time on Films and That. If you like this video, please consider supporting Films and That on Patreon.
I don't know why, it just didn't sound... the way you said that, I was so put off, I didn't think to say bye. Felt like What do I say now? Yes. Patreon.
That's it for this time on Films and That. If you like this video, please consider supporting Films and That on Patreon, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.